Item 5 is for discussion and possible action, consideration to approve request for NRC to transfer ordinance 2 fees from Stonehaven Phase 1 to Stonehaven Phase 3. And,
Mr. President, before we get started on
oh, that's
that,
right, I'm sorry.
Because of conflict of interest, Mike, being my brother who works for, and what's the name of the company? NRC. I'm gonna abstain and.
Okay, yeah, I'm sorry, I knew that.
Not a problem.
Who wants to take this on? Aaron or Bo?
Either one?
Yeah.
That's fine.
Where?
The district currently has some policies and regulations in place that would preclude, the request of transferring ordinance 2 fees from one phase of a subdivision to another. However, from a legal perspective, I don't know that this is a whole lot different from the transfer of impact fees and transfer of water meters that we've addressed in the past. We were able to put together a format and some criteria that if a developer met that criteria, that we would allow, or the district approved, that they could transfer their water meters or impact fees. So from that legal perspective, I think the same issues are in play, and the district could, if it wanted to, approve this. And if it does, we would recommend that the same criteria, the same conditions be satisfied in connection with transferring ordinance 2 fees as if they were transferring impact fees or water meters. So if there's other legal questions, I'm happy to address those, but I think it can be done. One other thing I'll say is that my firm has been involved in the past with this subdivision and preparing CC&Rs, as well as representing, I think, a related entity of the person, the entity that's making this request on our side, not NRC specifically, but a former entity of some of the same principles. So just want to make sure that that's disclosed as well.
We'd like to tell the applicant we very much don't want to be in the way of progress and et cetera, but there will be some costs associated with this. And I think your firm is going to have to bear those costs to change. We're covered under this on our rules and regulations now, so we don't have to go in and rewrite all of our rules and regulations. But we will have probably some costs involved in maps, and Aaron can probably explain it better than I can. So.
Well, just for the benefit of the public, I think that I think you can summarize pretty quick of what they're asking to do from the subdivision. They're decreasing lots. Why don't you give
the specific, or Mike, do you even want to give some of that history?
Yes, it's not just moving from phase 1 to phase 3. It's the fact that we've combined lots that both those lots at one time had ordinance 2 fees paid on them. We've combined those 2 lots to the point where now there's one ordinance 2 fee that's floating out there in limbo that has nowhere to go. So we would like to have that credit be moved to another lot in phase 3.
Yeah.
So.
will you state your name so that we're...
Oh, sorry, Mike Levitt.
You're related to this Levitt?
Yeah.
So that's in a nutshell what's
Right.
just specifically being brought up here, and this will affect could affect other subdivisions and have ramifications that later down the line. And so specifically, currently in what Bo reviewed in our, if I'm not mistaken, the current operation rules, I mean, ordinance 2 can't be transferred, so it would require some change of policy just to allow that, if that is a thought.
Yeah, if the board wants to do it, then again, there's no legal reason that you shouldn't do it. And if it's conducive to further development and what contractors and developers are wanting to do, then there's a way to do it that it's going to not be harmful to the district. And so the proper procedure for doing that would be to put in place a policy that will apply to all developers in the future, that if they satisfy the same criteria, then obviously they're gonna be treated the same way. So the first step would be to modify the current operating rules and regulations to be consistent with,
Okay.
with what we're talking about, and then approve, the specific request that's being made.
Okay. So as far as this is concerned tonight, we should either table it or bring it back when we've got to vote on it, or do we want to go ahead and vote tonight on it?
The agenda item is specific to this request. If the board is inclined to grant the request, it would require revision to the current operating rules and regulations. So, I mean, it's kind of coming up in the same context. It's
Okay, all right. So can I get a motion on that?
one thing you guys may want to do is, as Aaron mentioned, is if you're going to approve it, there's the issue of if there's going to be a fee associated with it, and if there is a fee for the administrative time the staff is going to put into making the change, and it's not going to be some large fee, but if there's additional, yeah. So that would probably be part of the motion, but again, the first part would be to revise the current policies to allow for this, and then approve the specific request.
Just for clarification for the record, for legal counsel, you have done past work, it's not current work, it's not simultaneous work with the client, right?
That's correct. Yeah, I haven't discussed this issue with NRC.
Just for clarification. If there's no other questions, I'm ready to make a motion.
Hey, I have one question.
Go ahead.
Well, I saw your recommendations, and I agree with everything, including a clerical fee. What about, is there any way to make sure that the subdivision's contiguous? So they're not calling phase 2 of the subdivision 10 miles away? You follow my question?
Yeah. I mean, I guess that's something for consideration for the board is to how strict we want to be in the future. I mean, I know we don't want to open Pandora's box and turn this into some situation where...
Yeah, I don't want them, selling ordinance 2 fees on the black market, but then again, I also want to work with developers. I think that our understanding is it's in the same subdivision. It's, you're being used by the same developer or, along those lines. But I've also seen where, developers have gone and bought a piece of property 10 miles away and called it, the same subdivision, phase 2, if it was successful or something like that. So that's my only concern.
I think they're tied to a specific map, so that's and again, all of the criteria that we would put in place if the board's inclined to approve this would require an application. In fact, we have an application that was put together in connection with transferring impact fees and water meters that specifically all of this information, these requirements and documents were brought to the district, and the district would approve that. I think under the scenario you're describing, if sometime in the future a developer tried to, I guess, circumvent the standard protocol for ordinance 2 that by having a subdivision split up, number one, I don't think that a final map would be approved that would be structured that way, but if it did, then the district could certainly look at that and decline to approve that application. But I think you raise a good point. Again, we don't want this to get out of control, but if it can be done in a reasonable way so that these developers and builders can move on and and do a good project.
Yeah, in this particular case, I have no problem with it. I was just, like you said, I don't want to open Pandora's box.
Yeah.
Okay, any other comments?
It looked like Mike wanted to say something.
No, my question was, what does it really matter where they go? We're putting them in the same subdivision, but if you've paid ordinance 2 fees and you've done away with a parcel or an address and whatnot, and that ordinance 2 fee is there, and there's a credit, what does it matter where it goes, as long as it's within our district?
I don't know.
I think part of the issue that we're dealing with, Mikey, not with your this particular one, but in the future, we've had, well, I shouldn't say in the future, in the past, when the ordinance 2 rates were projected to go up, we had a mass, or the district, I wasn't here then, the district had a mass rush on developers that came in, paid ordinance 2 fees without any maps being filed or anything like that, and those ordinance 2 fees are encumbered with that subdivision, even though there's no map that's been developed for it. And we've got to come up with a policy on how to deal with that, those particular instances, and whether or not, you know, if that property goes in default and NRC or some other company comes in and buys that and calls it another phase of something and creates a map. Those are the issues we're dealing with right now. I'm trying to figure out what that policy is going to look like, and so that's why we're having this discussion.
I mean, part of the concern from the district standpoint is much like it is in transferring impact fees and water meters, and that's, you know, Zions Bank comes in and loans money on a specific project, money's used to pay ordinance 2 fees or whatever, they have a trustee on that property, and then they're secured by what they think are interests in that property. And we just want to make sure that that the district doesn't get involved in a lot. Not that I don't think the district would necessarily lose that lawsuit, but just to avoid the litigation altogether, avoid the liability. I think the district wants to put some reasonable protocols in place that we're not just making this a free-for-all that, you know, subjects the district to, you know, possible problems in the future. So I think if we follow a system that's similar to what we're doing with transferring impact fees, I think that balances the protection of the district and allows the contractor to go forward. And if that works for everybody, I don't see a legal reason not to do that.
And we're okay with the way it's written now, as far as if you were transferring from one lot to another lot, you're going to have 2 existing lots remaining. That makes complete sense. But the way it's written, it just doesn't address what we've done.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, we ready for a motion?
One other thing is, just so that we're clear that when we write this, the policy will remain the same, that ordinance 2 fees are not refundable, but are transferable in this limited circumstance.
Ready for a motion?
Yes, sir.
Let's see if we can make one here. Mayor, I move that we allow NRC the requested transfer ordinance 2 fees from Stonehaven Phase 1 to Stonehaven Phase 3. I would also like to add the staff recommendations that we follow the Section 4 rules and regulations as it pertains to the transfer of meters, so that we have some kind of consistency as we go forward with this, and any other staff recommendations that need to be implemented with this request. Anything else you need to add?
Yeah, maybe just prior to that motion, maybe just make a motion with respect to the current policy.
Right.
Is that, well,
Well,
we're tying it to this plus the current policies that are in existence.
Right. That basically, we're saying that notwithstanding the current language of the regulations now, we're going to go ahead and put this in place, and then we are approving NRC's request as the, I guess, second half of that.
Right.
So that's my motion.
Okay.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor, raise their right hand. And Rich, don't raise your hand.
Aye.
Okay,